native animals have a high tolerance to it.
See, so it's not only our animals and things that can kill you, our plants can too.
Yep, sodium fluoroacetate is the product, and it's in a few plants in quite a few plants in Western Australia, and it's in some plants in northern parts of South Australia. You pretty much can't kill an emu with 1080. You pretty much can't kill a western grey kangaroo with 1080. An eastern grey kangaroo has a very high tolerance. Most of our lizards and reptiles have fairly high tolerance to it. The Kiwis use it to kill possums over there because our possums got taken over there and they're a pest species in New Zealand, and they have to use massively strong doses to kill possums.
Oh, not my poor Rufus that lives in the office roof.
Did he live in Murphy's roof, did you say?
No. I got a big bushy tailed possum. Like, man, it is huge. It's at least 2 feet, and that's without the tail. But he lives in the office roof. Funnily enough, he never comes down into the workshop. He always nicks out the back.
Yep. Yeah, we had my cousin when I was growing up had a pet brush-tailed possum. I can't remember what his name was, but it used to ride around on his shoulder.
I reckon this one would squash you if you sat on your shoulder. If he sat on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Oh, the first time we saw him was when we had Bill's truck out the back, and we got up on the roof to do something up there, and suddenly there's 2 big eyes the size of saucers looking at us, you know. And I don't know who got the bigger fright, him or me, to be quite honest.
Well, they can get pretty big, the buggers.
Oh yeah, this one's huge. So he's been called Rufus, and he occasionally rearranges the furniture on the roof up there, which is a bit of a bugger because he pushes all the foam out of the way, like we store all the foam insulation and stuff up on the roof of the office, and I'll come in and there'll be foam down on the floor, and I know that Rufus has been rearranging the place again. But he goes. Sorry, go on.
Good. I went out to my shed last night and I'd left the door propped open a foot, and bloody 5 chooks decided they were going to live in the shed for the night.
Oh.
This is about 8 o'clock last night, and I said, no, you're not. But they did, because the process of getting them out was going to result in wholesale destruction of the shed with shit that was up on shelves finishing up on the floor. So I thought I'm better off just letting them stay in the shed for the night. They'll come out tomorrow and I'll lock the bloody door.
Yeah.
Bastards.
What were
Chickens. Chooks.
Oh.
Chooks. We call chickens chooks out here.
Okay.
My pet name for my wife is Chook.
Bloody hell, Robbo.
Because she's a little chicken.
No, my pet name for my wife is Chook also, but that's because she sounds like she's going to lay an egg when she laughs.
Oh, I see. No, my mum's old Chook.
To her face?
I just...
Oh yeah, to her face.
Well, that's all right, yeah.
No, we remember the thing. Oh, it's a joke, Joyce. In the comedy thing. It's a joke, Joyce. And well, Graham Kennedy and I forget her name now, but I'll remember it later.
Nolan Brown, was it?
No, it wasn't Nolan Brown. Anyway, my mum's name is Joyce. And with 5 boys around the house and the old man, you can imagine tea time, we'd be yakking and Mum would say, you can't. It's a joke, Joyce.
Oh dear.
Other than
I
slang,
must have been good.
one thing that I think has really improved a lot of stuff that goes online universally today is that we can laugh at each other because it doesn't matter where you are in the world. We've all had the same things happen to us.
This is true. But I still can't understand Asian sense of humour, I'm afraid. Like, I watch some of their just for laughs videos and I just think they're inane.
Yeah.
A little
Well,
weird.
the culture is so prompt or so prepped and perfect. You have to live up and do something just perfectly in a certain way as it's been done for God created rice, it seems. And but I get a kick out of some of the younger people. They just break away from it. They have some pretty good sense of humor, but I don't see it out of Asia. I see them out of Canada that migrated here when Hong Kong folded and migrated to Canada and us. And
I'll have to watch my language. I just noticed we've gone live.
Dr. Bob, could you
Swearing.
send Jeff Walters a thing? I've sent him a link to the page.
Yes, and I got a message back. He will be in an hour, and that was at
Oh, yeah.
9:06.
Right
And
out.
Hannity said that he would be interested. He is interested in joining us for the night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I usually try to send Jeff something every
Yeah, well,
days.
he messaged me this morning and said if I could send him a link because he thought you were going in for an operation or something today. So,
Well, after the test, well, I got the second shot, and after
Oh,
the test on my kidneys, they've said that we'll give you another 6 to 8 months before you need to bring in the double jugs, and we'll see if your kidneys are doing just fine again. And right now, there's
oh
you
well,
don't
that's
have
good.
to worry about a machine or anything. And oddly enough, it's because of the coffee. I only drink one pot of coffee during the day, and I've cut down. Except I make it in the morning, and then after my first cup, I add a cup of water back in again. And after I drink the next cup out of there, I dilute it by one more cup and let that perk through. And by the end of the day, there's hardly any caffeine, but it has a taste, and it's better than soda. And
Sounds like my
juices,
mother-in-law
because
continually
being a
uses the same
diabetic,
tea bag all day.
yeah, but the diabetes and sugar for juices is a no-no. It's positive in one way, but it's no-no for the other. So
Sorry, Sid, what did you say?
It sounds like my mother-in-law. She uses one tea bag all day.
Yeah, well, my mother and father could get 23 cups of tea out of a tea bag. So that's 40. That was 46. But it was just bang bang out of the cup. That's how weak they used to have it.
not even colored water.
Oh yeah, it was just slightly coloured.
Oh. But what kind of tea? Some teas are really strong.
Oh no, those were just English breakfast.
Oh, yeah. That's what I do when I get it. Earl Grey is one of my favorites.
No, I can't stand Earl Grey. I can't get it past my nose, I'm afraid.
No, I was very pleased when the doctor came back and he said, "Well, I'll catch up with you, go down and have lunch," and then wander back. And next thing I know, he's down and said, "I've, you know," handed me a piece of paper. And he said, "That's your results?" And I said, "I don't know what that means." And sat down next to me and explained all the different tests and what they were testing. And he said, "We'll give you another year if you take care of yourself. Maybe 2 if you pamper yourself."
Who's got the klaxon horn in the background?
That's my work phone messages.
Oh, right. Bloody amazing. I can hear everybody else's phone but mine most of the time.
Yeah, don't try and ring Robbo, he won't hear it, but if someone rings you, he'll say, "What's that noise?"
Well, I sure wouldn't want to call it. It's a long distance is ridiculous. I'd rather use Facebook phone, and it's free.
Yeah.
And you get
I do.
video.
Yeah.
All right, so Sid and Robbo, you guys have had kangaroo. What does kangaroo taste like?
Mate.
If you get a young one, it tastes. A young roo that's not fed on rank feed tastes a bit like yearling beef.
Yeah. Except it's a lot darker and a lot leaner.
It's a darker meat, and the look of it makes you think it tastes different. But if you do a blind test, it's like young beef.
Sorry, have to disagree with that. Kangaroo tastes like kangaroo. Doesn't taste like anything else. It tastes like kangaroo. If it's cooked properly. If it's
Just
cooked
because
like
it's your stream, Jay.
If it's cooked like a steak, then it tastes like shit because you've done it wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
No, you can't cook it like a steak.
I know that. I know how to cook kangaroo perfectly. That's all I'm just saying. I would never eat it in a restaurant because they dick it up every time.
Yeah. Yeah, they work on the theory that you put a brick in with it, and when the brick's soft, you throw away the meat and eat the brick.
And the other thing you got to remember, Robbo, is the kangaroo that Jay eats. It's already been tenderised because there's the stuff he's eating with his car.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I wasn't going to tell him that part.
Got to pick out the gravel.
I know they're tough enough they don't get any gravel in them.
That's like the two blokes walking on the side of the road and you pull up and you say, "Geez, you blokes right? Yeah, we're just going shopping."
Okay, Jay, what is, in your opinion, the proper way to cook a roux?
Very lightly and very slowly.
That's it. Yeah, steaks like being cooked hot and quick. Kangaroo doesn't.
No.
If you cook it hot and quick, it'll be tough, and that's where Robbo's brick comment comes in.
Yep.
So the reason I ask is one of my favorite hamburger restaurants. Every now and then they pull in exotic meat. Like they'll have emu, they'll have boar, and this month they have kangaroo. And I had never tasted kangaroo, and I thought, well, what the heck? And it tastes a lot like beef. It has just a little bit different of a flavor, kind of like if you're eating deer, but not quite. But I liked it. It was good. But yeah, it kind of just tasted like hamburger to me.
Got 2 points I'd like to raise there for you, Blair. I'm guessing from what you're saying, you're talking about hamburger as in it's ground or minced, which makes a huge difference in the cooking because you can't cook mince and make it tough, essentially. And point number 2, which is possibly the most important one, it's emu, not emu.
Emu.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But also, too,
it hasn't got double O on the end. It's got emu.
Emu.
For some reason, when you mince kangaroo, it tastes completely different than having it as the slab.
Gotcha.
It does. It changes the structure of the meat. It's not the mincing. It's what happens to it while it cooks when it's minced.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris. Welcome.
How you going, Chris?
G'day, Chris.
The same happens with whale.
Hey, Chris.
Because when I was in Alaska, one of the things Lions clubs across the state for state fairs would have contests on cooking different meats, barbecuing meats that are well, not exotic to people that live there, but to the outsiders, or Chichaco, as they're known in Eskimo and Tlingit, is the fact that, and it really surprised me because the first time I saw them do it, they had a 55-gallon drum barbecue. I don't know if you're familiar with them. You cut them in half and you make a barbecue out of a 55-gallon drum. And they were cooking it slowly, and it was it covered the whole top of it. They had to use an engine hoist to pick it up and turn it over, but they were just showing off. And then they would cut pieces off and serve it. And it looked just like a red meat from a bear, or cow or whatever. It was red meat. And this is a whale. And I always expected a whale to look white or pink like a fish. And then this person hit me over the head, physically hit me beside the head with an open hand, Chichaco, and whack. Like, what's that for? And he's a fellow Lions Club member. A whale is a mammal. Mammals have red meat. That's a mammal. It's not fish. But they had it as if it tasted, if they barbecued it, and it tasted like a typical barbecued piece of meat, with all the sauces on it, but it wasn't different in distinction. I even bought some pickled and a bunch that was frozen for to eat during the winter. But I learned I have never turned my nose up at a different type of food.
Look, you watch Ducky. I'll change your name to Ducky. Huh? Can I change your name to Ducky?
Who?
Have a look at the screen.
Ah,
Oh,
that's all right.
Rob
Believe it or
Romo's
not,
got
we're
the
in
Station
five.
of Honour.
We have 5 days of lockdown.
Oh, what?
Is that just been
Severe.
announced, is it?
Yeah, severe lockdown. Can't go more than 5 kilometres from midnight tonight.
Better rush out and buy some toilet paper,
5
Robbo.
days is enough.
Sorry?
Why? I don't understand the logic for a short period of time in an area. Is it just one person and they're trying to track who that person contaminated others with?
I don't know. I was just reading about it, but that's what the phone call was about.
Yeah, Dr. Bob, when they did the short one here, it's about giving the contact tracers time to catch up without people moving around and creating more contacts.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's not so much about saying if we stop for 5 days, we're going to stop the spread of the disease. It's if we stop for 5 days and stop people from moving, it means we've got more chance of catching up and finding out who's moved where and who's been in contact.
Because it's something that hasn't been done here because, I don't know.
That's been the backbone of the Australian response.
Said no.
Yep. No, it's been the backbone of the Australian and New Zealand response is contact tracing and make sure we know as far as possible where everyone who's been infected or potentially infecting others has been. And it's working so far compared to the rest of the world. We're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good to hear.
So as I said, what I was saying to Robbo is he needs to rush out and buy some toilet paper. About the year's supply should get him through 5 days.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I better stock up on enough food to last a month.
Now, food's not as important as toilet paper, is it?
No, you're right. Not in some people's
I
eyes.
can't get over the fact that toilet paper is the thing that everybody hoarded.
Yeah. It's astounding, isn't it?
I would have thought rice, flour,
Pasta.
Powdered milk products, pasta, the staples that you can build a meal around very simply and cheaply would have been the shit that would have gone first. But no, toilet paper.
Yeah.
Well, that's something Robo and I know probably a lot about. That you don't really need if you've got trees around.
You don't really need it if you haven't got trees around, Dr. Bob. I mean,
No.
you know, like if you want to get really, really down to basics, you can clean yourself up with your hand and wash your hand.
Oh yeah, we used to use leaves. That was the big thing in Nam. You know, you grab a couple of big leaves, but shake them first because of the bugs and spiders that might be in them.
Throwing a spider in it. Yeah, I knew where you were going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the chickens in my shed last night, Robbo, we had a bit of because of the humidity, we had a big outbreak of those little, you know, the little black beetles.
Oh, yeah, little mongrel things they are.
Yeah, well, I left a light on in my shed. So, of course, they've come in through all the cracks in the doors, and the shed floor was full of these bloody beetles. So the chooks have gone in cleaning them up. And then they thought, well, this is a nice spot to spend the night. We're not going out again. So they're up on the top of me bloody blanks and shit all through the shed. And I'm saying, well, you need to get out. And they're saying no. And I got one out and it dropped me texters down all over the place. And I picked them up off the floor and I gave it up as a bad idea.
I'll tell you what, the little buggers can move quick when they wanted to.
Yeah, and they're smaller than me. They can go through the little gaps where I can't fit.
Yeah.
One thing I hated was chasing my chickens. Just drove me nuts.
Hey Sid,
Yeah.
would your boss be a bit upset if you're pest control and you can't get a couple of chickens out of your shed?
No, because chickens are not declared pests.
They are in your shed. In your shed they are though.
You want to? You want a chicken joke? Bloke was driving along the road and he's doing bloody 60 mile an hour in his car and he looked out the window and this chicken comes up and runs past him. And he said, Jesus, I'm doing 60 miles an hour and this bloody chicken's just overtaking me like I'm standing still. So he sunk his boot into it and he sort of kept it in sight for a while and it went round the corner and up this driveway, so he followed it. And he gets up there and here's a farmer sitting on the edge of the bloody veranda having a bloody beer. And he pulled up and he said, yeah, he said, I was just coming down the road. He said, this bloody chicken went past me at 60 miles an hour. And he said, he pulled up and came in this driveway. The farmer said, yeah. He said, yeah, we've been breeding these three-legged chickens so that, you know, families don't fight as much when they're cooking a chook and they've got 3 drumsticks. And he said to the farmer, he said, well, where do they taste? He said, I don't know, never been able to catch one. Blair saw where that was going. I was watching his face.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And it's clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where did Jay get the nickname Toxic Toad?
Oh, you've
Because
missed
that's what he
that
looked
couple
like
days,
when he
buddy.
had his allergic reaction.
Oh, I remember that, but he's not a toad.
No, well, he looked like one. He looked like one.
We haven't given it to him. He's adopted it.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's wearing it with pride.
He looked like a cane toad.
Poor guy. Guys, I'll be right back.
No worries.
Don't eat more moonshine.
a 3-fingered? Or are you
Yeah.
talking about? Oh,
No, he's talking.
emphasize what's between the 2 fingers.
Yeah, he's talking. He's talking to us.
He reads
Sid
between
and I.
the lines is what he's saying.
I remember that joke. Put 3 fingers up, and you have to read between the lines.
Yeah.
Well, Dad used to go like that and say metric.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, my dad used to use that joke. His brothers used to use it, and I was a little kid, and I didn't catch it until I was in probably about the 4th grade.
Which is entirely appropriate, Dr. Bob.
Yeah. Well, they said that he's going to learn it someday, but I thought it was a wave, so I was waving at people the same way. And my mother would always say, "See, you're teaching him a bad habit." Not, you perk up. Yeah. What did I do that was bad? Did I wave the wrong way? But they just wouldn't let me in on it.
That a bit of that gum, Joe?
No, it's pine.
Okay. Right. I'm going to have to love you all and leave you again. I've got more people coming in to pick up more bait stuff, so.
Yeah,
I'm a very popular man at the moment.
I'd say so.
Right.
Right.
See you later.
Take care, guys.
See you later,
Have
Sid.
a good day.
See ya. See you, Dr. Bob. See you, Blair. See you, Robbo. See you, Jake.
Perfect timing.
Sid
Blair
said,
sits down
see you
and
later,
takes his
Blair.
place. Oh, I made the mistake of teaching a couple of the 2 teams here about StreamYard and offered that they could use my account if they needed to, because I have an account. Because I'm the one that does a lot of the connections between my family members, my brother and sister and relatives up in Canada and that. So now they're doing a concert. They're all practicing to sing, but they're doing it through StreamYard, and I can hear them in the background.
Oh, well, keeps them out of trouble.
Amen. You got to come up with something different all the time. Teens can think of stuff, but even they, if they can't be around their colleagues, that's using it loosely, can get stagnant and depressed. Last Saturday, they had some friends over that have tested. They're clear. They're best of friends, and they game constantly together. And one of them's father is a doctor, and so on. So we feel safe having them here. And they were going to make popcorn, and I decided to screw them the good time to get my side of the joke going. And they were saying, "Well, let's. I think it's a cup of popcorn is all we need in the kettle, the big kettle, and that ought to do it." And they were arguing, "No, maybe 3/4. No, maybe it ought to be this. Maybe it ought to be that." So they put it in, and they had to go back to the back of the house where we have a big recreation room. And they were saying, "Well, if it starts popping, Bob, would you tell us?" So I put 2 more cups in.
Blair's just disappeared again for a minute. Don't know what's happened.
Yeah. He might, I don't know. He didn't say anything.
No, I know. Oh, he
Oh,
did,
yeah.
but he was muted.
Yeah, that's all right. He's back again. How you going?
Hey, I moved my keyboard and somehow it popped me out.
Ah,
Are you trying to see what happens when Slade does it?
But these guys, they just couldn't believe how much popcorn they got out of their 1 cup.
I'll
They
be
kept
back.
coming and coming.
I'll be back in a second.
Nobody. No. None for you.
Your dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, last Saturday with the popcorn thing, Riley here just loved it. just kept coming over the top of the fan onto the floor, and he kept pushing the guys out of the way as they were trying to rescue their popcorn from spilling out of the pan. And he was on the floor getting every bit of he could. Oh, probably cost me $2 to pull a joke on him, and they never caught on. Two of his friends don't even know how to boil water properly. 'Cause they have a maid at their house that does all the cooking and cleaning.
Well,
Yeah. Well, the father's head surgeon for our local hospital, and the mother runs a nursing firm that was for home nurses. She schedules and has a whole group of nurses that do stuff for people that are shut-ins and schedules them. So both of them work, and right now even more so. But the maids live in, so she stays and cooks. So they didn't know how to make popcorn.
hold on.
Robo, what's your favorite snack food?
Just about anything.
I was about to answer that. Anything Julie brings home from the shop.
Exactly. And at the present time, Jay.
Oh, piss off. Oh, those things are beautiful.
I know they are.
They're like the elite wagon wheel, aren't they?
Oh yeah, there you go.
So, Robbo, what are they? Now that you put it in your mouth.
They're very similar to a wagon wheel, but they're a different brand.
I don't know what a wagon wheel is.
Oh, all right.
yeah.
Ooh, dark hazelnut.
Yeah, we call them something different. Oh,
Sounds awesome.
Oh yeah.
I'll go get a link for you, all right, and show you what a wagon wheel looks like.
Okay.
Except the actual wagon wheel.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the private chat because you may not be able to click on it.
One thing that Nick and Stace got me hooked on are those Jaffa cakes.
They're too expensive for me. I don't worry about it. Can't justify paying what they want for them.
I had them the other day. I know, Sid, I am.
I've wondered what they were. I have no idea.
Have a Harley.
Sorry, what was that, Bob?
I have no idea what a Jaffa cake is. Is it a style of cake or is it a trade name from a bakery?
No, what it is a biscuit with an orange, like an orange jam in it, all covered in chocolate. And they are very nice.
Well, they are. They're tasty.
Did you see that link, Blair?
Where did you post it?
It's in the private chat for StreamYard.
Oh, hold on.
Just because the link that's in YouTube won't work very well because it lets you have X amount of characters.
Okay, so the wagon wheels are still biscuits, but it looks like marshmallow.
Yeah, there's marshmallow and raspberry jam or strawberry jam in the middle of them.
That sounds good too. I have to.
Well, they are.
I have to see if I can find some at my shop that I get my Jaffa cake from.
There's some interesting videos on YouTube at the moment where American kids are trying Australian snacks because there's a lot of things that are available here that aren't available in America. It's rather interesting, some of the reactions, actually. Well, I like that. I like this. Oh, no, that one tastes terrible.
Yeah, we had a lot of that when Hong Kong closed down, and the refugees. They weren't refugees; they just left before it went back to the Chinese. And there was a lot of them come into Canada and in Windsor, which is across our little river here, Detroit River. And then, of course, we get them. A lot of them were migrating to Detroit, and a lot of their snack foods they couldn't find. So people set up bakeries just to have them, so they were comfortable because there was thousands of them that migrated, and they estimated Detroit got something like 8,000 in the Detroit Windsor area. So they came and brought all their snack foods and custom foods and bakeries and restaurants. So that's a neat part of town to go to in order to get the mixture of the Asian and British foods that Hong Kong had.
One thing that's kind of cool now is like you can get boxes once a month of different snacks and stuff like that from different countries and have you try them. And I don't know how much it is, but I see it on YouTube every once in a while. I'll have to look up the American one though.
Well, the Detroit area has about 8 to 10 different ethnic areas around it that, well, within the city is fairly well mixed, but is suburbs. So we get really some fantastic foods when restaurants are open. And now they're doing the deliveries free. At least for vets, most of us get free deliveries from any of the foods. And they have one that's Thai food that is to die for. And what I find when I call to place an order, they know me by now, by name and what I like, but it's I want it the way it was made by your mother type thing or grandmother. Oh, you're GI, right? Yes. And they spice it and send it out.
Sid's put a link up there to the announcement of the coronavirus thing.
I'm actually just reading it.
Yeah, we've had schools open here for 4 days a week. This is the second week of it, but they can also, if the parents want them, can do home. Not a problem. There's no argument. You can stay home, and they supply the Chromebooks for them, and they have staff that help them. And even now, the high school kids are involved in making some money as tutoring middle school students and elementary school students, because they don't really need teachers, but you got all these students who want to be teachers. So this is the perfect, give them the example of how to handle it and do it in the technology that they've been using for gaming and stuff for years. So they're doing better than the teachers are with online teaching for some of the subjects. So when are you going to do another live there, Robo?
I'm not sure at the moment. I'm just working out a few things on the cameras and this and that. And trying to get ideas of what to do, so. Because I don't like doing what everybody else does. I like to be a bit different.
Same here.
I thought I gave you a good idea, Robbo.
Yeah, yeah. Or what people don't see very often.
Well, one thing I think would be great from a master of a skew is to actually talk about different skews and show how to use the skew and the different angles that are on it. Some are garbage, some aren't. Some are better for right-handed people, I find. At least I've been told that. Because that's an item that you're somewhat of an expert at because of being a professional turner.
I kind of did that on my last live. I showed 3 different kinds of skews.
With the different angles?
Yeah.
Well, one thing, I've got a skew. I've got 5 now. I had 6, but I made one into a negative rake scraper, heavy duty one, because it was the cheapest of metal. But I've even got one that's only an inch wide, and I've got one that's half an inch wide for 3/4.
I love my little half incher. It's only,
Yeah.
maybe about like that, but gets into tight spots, and yeah, I like it a lot.
Oh yeah. What type of grind do you have on it? Straight, angled?
It's angled.
What? Just whatever fancies you, or do you have a specific angle?
It's just what it came with. I don't know. It's probably like at a 45.
Okay, that's somewhat extreme. But yeah, I had some box of tools that was given to me years ago, and it had a bunch of skews. It's cheap metal, but they work well.
See, the nice thing is my stepson's wife's father is a superintendent for a school district, and they were getting rid of some shop tools and stuff, and they were getting them all brand new stuff. And he just happened to say, you know what? I know somebody who could use those rather than just throw them away. So I ended up with a box full of all of these different, I ended up with like 5 different skews and some roughing gouges, and and they're high-speed steel. They're not anything fantastic, but they do the job.
Yeah.
I just ended up sending one to Deadwood. He said he knew somebody who could use one, so I sent one to him.
That's nice of you.
Well, you know what? It's all part of the community. If somebody needs something, and I've got more than what I need, absolutely, it'll go.
Yep. I think I see a captive ring coming.
I do too. Where's your special tool, Jay? There it is.
Sorry, Chris. What was the reference? So don't we all? I missed something there. I was busy reading something else.
Yeah, I kind of lost that too, Chris. What are we talking about? Chris, we need to get you involved in this. You need to get StreamYard and pop in and hang out with us.
Well, you don't need to get it. All you got to do is click the link and it'll automatically open it.
If he doesn't have an account, Robbo, he's still got to sign up.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. And you can get StreamYard free.
Yeah.
If you do end up signing up to it, Chris, it'll end up going, most probably go to your spam or junk mail. So, yeah. So just make sure you check there.
I'll tell you, I don't know if you've seen anything, Blair, about the cutback on all these crazy marketing phone calls from overseas, from numbers that are non-existent. I sure have.
I haven't seen anything on it. I got 2 of them today from my area code.
Yeah, when you try to ring the number, this number doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Or to me, I've been getting them, and they've been numbers that belong to hospitals, funeral homes. People don't care. But that used to be illegal. But that's one of the things that one of the people that's been put up for head of the FCC has said he's going to go back to the law and enforcing it, that's illegal to do. It's false representation because it's a crime.
Oh, I like to be told that I've won $1 million or there's $7 million in the bank waiting for me if I give them my card numbers.
Yeah, but there are gullible people that'll do that, and unfortunately, they're people of age that can easily be sweet-talked into it. And that is a crime. I got an item I've had on my phone for a while, RoboBlocker, as an app. And if it's not in my phone book, and it's not a number that the software automatically back checks to make sure that it's a real number by doing a lookup, it continues on saying that they need to put you on hold and they're playing background music and why they're coming to get me, as if it was all legit. And then they come back, and if it is a con, they've usually hung up by then. But if not, there's 1 of 9 answers that they give. And it's hilarious because I can sit and listen to it if I want to while it's getting the runaround. Because my long lost relative died and left me money.
Yeah, that's. No, I just, as I said, I like to do things that I think that a lot of people wouldn't see under normal circumstances, like, we've done a table lamp, for instance, and done the back of a chair leg, and
Yeah, eventually I need to figure out how to set up one of those sleds to make the segmented bowls and stuff like that. Just try something different. Bowls and stuff like that.
Oh, you're dead right there, Chris. Chris has said the problem is there's so many channels doing a lot of really ugly stuff no one would put in their house. I'll go and turn this radio down.
I agree. It is good video at times. That's so many. To me, I get ideas from sitting back and watching it. And then
Sorry,
sometimes I sit and watch and I keep thinking, what a screw up. It's so much easier this way or that way, or try to guess what they're going to do next.
Oh man, I bite my tongue. I was wondering I've got it. I'm glad I don't have any teeth because I wouldn't have a tongue left.
Yeah, sorry about that, Robbo.
What?
Yeah, it makes me wonder what people think when they watch me turn. But you know, I just do what I do, and you know, if I'm dangerous, I need to know it. If I'm not, and I achieve what I need to, then okay. But you know, if I'm turning ugly stuff, yeah, I'd kind of like to know that.
Beauty is always in the eye of the beholder.
Sure. And that is why I am not a model.
Oh, I thought it was because you were against unions.
Oh, well, that and have you ever seen me in a Speedo?
No thanks.
How much you're going to pay me to watch?
I can't keep up with the marks and the pole dancing. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. You've worn your body out.
Yeah.
But at 17 and 18, that was a different opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't know how people can segment on a bandsaw. You must have to do a lot of sanding afterwards to get a smooth finish down the edges to get them to line up properly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, it's the only way I could think of it.
Like I've got a very old, and I mean old. G'day, Jeff.
Hello
I got
there. How you going,
I got a table saw that's 70 years old, but with a sled on it, and it cuts dead accurate.
Yeah, I'd like to just make one for my table saw, and you know, I've got a good blade on it, and just zip, 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 zip. You know, rather than bandsaw, there's too much pressure, too much blade wobble.
We got the bandsaw set up wrong then.
Oh no, like my bandsaw's set up properly, but even so, you still get a rough cut down the edges of anything you cut. Unless you go to a really, really super fine blade, and then you can't get half the timber through it properly.
How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Been in the shop almost every day this week.
Nice.
Jeez, what's wrong with you?
I just got lucky.
Oh.
Next week is like book solid, so I got in while I could and working on different projects. And and turned a beautiful Purple Heart bull that's sold already.
Oh, that's good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love
And-
Purple Heart.
Oh, it's great stuff, isn't it?
I don't like the smell of it though.
I wear all the respirators and stuff, so I don't notice it.
Yeah, that's good.
And
Yeah,
Chris,
Which is too
Has
bad
too
because
much of a
I love the
punky
smell
smell.
of Coca-Cola.
and Chris says that his table saw is too dusty for his basement workshop.
Yeah.
I've got an old Sears Craftsman contractor style table saw. It's the 1986. They were made here in the U.S. at the time, and I just went through and made it as closed up as possible and added dust collection to it, and that's really made a big difference because my shop's in the basement too. So the trick is closing up the back side of it.
Yeah. And then putting an air intake just under the blade.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't do that. That's something else I may play with, but it was really bad beforehand. I mean, it was just dumping on the floor. I didn't have it hooked up to anything. So,
That's what mine is. That's
Yeah.
what mine is. My garage is a mess.
yeah. So I got that done. Now the sled is the next thing I want to make for it because I spent a few hours getting the blade lined up with a miter. The blade was off in the back by 1/64 of an inch. And it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but when you're cutting segments for a ring, it makes all the difference in the world.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was doing a lot of sanding. So that's my next thing.
Yeah, I bought the rigid saw when they came out, and the band saw and the table saw and all the power tool lines with the lifetime warranties.
Oh,
And they work.
yeah, I have a rigid chop saw. Had it for quite a few years.
Yeah, and if you got it, registered it when you bought it, if the motor burns out, they'll give you a new one.
Yeah.
Something breaks, you get a new one.
It's funny, when I got it, my son was, 3 years old? Maybe, I think 3 years old. And I was doing handyman work at the time. And I had just gotten home after a job, and he come running out to see me. And I opened up the back of the van, and I was getting ready to pull it out. And he goes, "I help you, Daddy." And he grabbed it and pulled it out, and I shoved him out of the way so it wouldn't hit him. And it hit the ground. And the thing was like a week old.
Oh.
And it just bent everything. And I found a place up in Lansing, Michigan, where they do service work for rigid. So I called them up, took it over to them, left it for 2 weeks, and they put a whole new bed on it and everything, no charge.
Wow.
Oh, that's good.
Lifetime guarantee.
Yep.
I
I've got a new motor and 2 motors on my big bandsaw. I love it. I've tuned that thing up perfectly. I put new bearings in, of course, but it works very well. And I got it when I got the new motor. They asked me if I wanted a 220, 110, 220 motor because the stock didn't come that, but that's all they had in stock. And I said, of course, 220. I ended up with a 3-horse 220 motor.
Nice.
I don't care how big a log I throw on that thing.
Yeah.
It just does not stop.
I get a kick out of Dennis Montville. He took his bandsaw and he put a frequency inverter on it and a speed control. I said, "Boy, you just can't help but be a machinist, can you?"
Well, all my power tools, the big ones, the table saw and band saws, and even the dust collector, I have on 220. I've moved everything over to it because the garage shop I have, when it was wired, it had a derated neutral 60 amp circuit. You know what that is?
Yeah. Yep.
You know. So,
we don't have to modify our workshops. They're all 240 volt or 480, one or the other.
Well, the problem with this is that if you want,
G'day, Robert.
you have to go between the neutral.
How you
and
doing,
one of the
Hodge?
power links. And when you do that, it causes problems. If you're under.
G'day, Robert. How are you?
So everything being 220, I have no trouble. Even the inspector came by and he said, that's a sneaky way around it.
Must be getting close to another meeting, is it, Jeff, of your club?
Yeah, a week from Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Saturday after that, for members, we have Alan Stratton doing a demo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I might get organised and put it up on the calendar one day.
Okay.
What are you gonna do?
Kate just joined the club this week.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Right. Robert says from Hodgepodge, doing well. Finished up editing this week's video, so on to turning the following project. And Chris, I may jump in tomorrow night if you have room. I'm already laying in bed for the night now. Oh, we have all sorts of people up in here. It doesn't matter where they are. The only ones we don't do ban are the ones in the shower. No, you're talking about dropping your table saw in the same vein. I picked my new truck up at 6 o'clock on a Thursday night. I had to go across to the hospital to pick my mother up. I was in the hospital for 10 minutes getting her. I came out at 7:05 and somebody had bloody raked down the side of it with one of the side mirrors on their car while they were turning around. Put a bloody 8-inch dent right down the mudguard.
Oh, jeez.
You don't reckon I was spitting chips?
Yeah. Hmm.
Of course, they left their name and address.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of what we're seeing today. I was doing a lot of sanding. I'm working on a vase, choke cherry with a resin inlay.
Yeah, the one you've had up on Facebook.
Yeah, and when I sanded it, I did power sanding, and that's because that's what I do with my bowls and stuff. And I couldn't get the scratches out of it for the life of me, so I ended up just starting from the beginning again with 80 grit and hand sanding it with the lathe turned off. It took me a little over an hour.
Yep.
Going up through the grits. Boy, that was a workout. My arm is still sore. So.
I actually find that power sanding leaves more scratches than anything else because it's not working in unison with the timber. And the best way of sanding I've found on bowls and things like that is using an inertia sander.
Yeah, which I've got one of those.
Yeah, and you do it both ways, like you rotate it clockwise and then anti-clockwise.
Uh-huh.
Because on spindle work, of course, hand sanding even will leave rings down unless you go right up. Well, we generally sand to 400 on our non-commercial work, so commercial work we stop at 180.
Okay.
It's the finisher's job after that.
Yeah, I've done inertia sanding on the outside of bowls, but I've never done it on the inside of bowls.
No, you want to try it.
Yeah, I'll do that. Did you see that that bowl, Robbo, that I did that came off the coal jaws and busted?
Yeah.
And that was totally my fault. That was a stupid mistake.
Look, I don't like cold jaws for that reason.
Yeah.
I did a video quite a while ago now on making a vast improvement on coal jaws, and you use plywood instead of the rubber stoppers. That way you can get a hold right round it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see if I can find. I'll put a link in for you.
Okay. Well, I've only had problems with them one time before. That was in 2015 when the bowl came off and hit me in the forehead, and that put me in the hospital. And that led to brain surgery to remove a tumor. So, but it was funny. It was a Thursday night it happened, and that Sunday we had our club meeting. And I walked in, my whole face was just black and blue, and my head was all swollen up. And
Wow.
yeah. So this one, none of the parts hit me. Everything went down, but it's just gorgeous piece of elm. So it broke my heart. Now, what I did was remount it, and it's not really a bowl anymore. It's a very shallow bowl, but when none of the parts hit me, everything went down. It's a gorgeous piece, though. So it broke my heart. Now, what I did was remount it, and it's
Does somebody have YouTube open?
It's gorgeous piece, though.
I don't.
Jeff, do you have YouTube open?
No.
Sorry, that's me. I thought I'd silenced it, but I hadn't.
I mean, I do like to hear the melodious sounds of Jeff's voice. But
Oh,
Yeah, I was listening to it myself.
hey, you were talking to yourself. Does that mean that something's wrong?
I get some of my best conversations that way,
Uh,
and some of my better answers.
yeah, and we quite often have staff meetings as well.
Yeah, right. uh,
Blair, we were wrong, and I think he's doing it just to prove we were wrong. It's not a captured ring.
Nope.
That's what we were guessing. It's like Saturn with a ring.
that's interesting, though.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's this, Jay? I don't know either, but here comes a whole herd. Sorry, dumb joke. So, Jeff, you said you've been in the shop. What have you been working on?
Oh, just different things. I started out with the purple heart bowl. Then I did the elm bowl.
Yeah.
And did some work on my saw, some testing some different things and so on, different ideas. And then I've started now on that vase. I've had the choke cherry log for over a year, and it's just one huge crack right down the whole length of it. So I sealed up the ends with duct tape and hot glue, and I filled it in with Alumilite deep pore resin that was dyed red.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, and I was going for a vase with the lip coming out a little bit, and I just didn't get it. It was, I don't know. It was probably just me in my lack of tool skills on spindle turning. So it's a straight vase now, but it looks really good with the strip of resin in it. And so, like I said, today I hand sanded out all the scratches. I took a Forstner bit and drilled it out. And so the next day or two, I'll get my Jameson hollowing rig set up and get the thing hollowed out and finished. So,
Sounds fun.
yeah.
Are you on Instagram?
Yes.
I have to search for you.
Yep.
Jeff, there's a link to that thing about modifying cold jaws or jumbo jaws or bowl jaws, whatever you want to call them.
Where's it at?
I'll just put it into the chat.
Okay.
If you, yeah.
Put it in the private chat because you can't click on it from StreamYard.
Oh, all right.
If you put it in the private chat, you can.
Yeah, I'll just copy it and.
Okay.
Yep.
I will watch for it. There it is.
There you go. It's in the private chat there. Yeah, Robert. There's quite a few companies that make the inertia sanders. Like we've got 3 in Australia that we can get. There's the Sorby one. There's another one, and there's the original inertia sander that was done by a bloke called Vic Wood about 30 years ago. I'm sure you can pick one up from Craft Supplies or somewhere like that. That's an interesting bit of wood, Jay. Where you are at the moment on finishing there, it almost looks like it's had an insert put in it. No, if you have a look at it, no, just back a bit from there towards you. There's a lighter, no, up on the cup part there.
Oh, okay.
Just bring it round there. It almost looks like an insert's been put into it because it changes colour completely.
It looks like appendage. I don't want to name.
It does look like an insert, yeah.
Yeah, the Sorby one, I must admit, I don't like the Sorby one too much either. I've got 2 or 3, 4 different ones that I've tried and tested over the years. So,
Jeff, that is gorgeous.
There's my Purple Heart. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that just came out beautiful. And the finish on it is the Axe wood turning paste and polish.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, I've just never gotten chatoyance like that out of a piece of wood. I've come close, but not like that.
That's crazy.
And that's only sanded to 320.
Wow.
Yeah, then I did the X on it.
Yeah, well, the Axe, any abrasive paste takes it up a little bit higher. So,
yeah. Well, Axe is basically the same thing as Yorkshire Grit and Hampshire Sheen. It's just, it's made here and it's half the price. You know?
Yeah.
They're both great products.
We can't get Axe in Australia, so I can't test it. But I've tested Yorkshire Grit against Triple E, and Triple E was the original one made for wood turners. It's been around for over nearly 30 years, I suppose. So, but no, they all do a good job. So
yeah.
But abrasive paste has been around since they built the first bloody building.
Right.
So the sad thing is my local Woodcraft, I went in there, I've been in there a couple times that I've asked them if they have any abrasive pastes or anything like that. And what's an abrasive paste?
Yeah.
Really? Where's that at?
It's in Utah. It's in Sandy. I'm not really impressed.
How could they not know that?
I think there's a lot of older gentlemen that work in there that I'm not sure why they work in there.
Yeah, they've probably got no experience whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, our Woodcraft here, the Woodcrafts in Michigan are all owned by one person. And I've never met him. I hear he's a pretty rough guy to deal with. He doesn't like to work with clubs and stuff like that. But my big complaint is the stores aren't that well stocked. But the guys that work there all know their stuff. You know, he hires guys that have a background in woodworking. And
Robert's put up there, if you need some more axe, he's got a 10% off coupon code.
oh, for axe.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I've had a couple different sources give me codes, and I haven't used any codes with them yet because Tom and Annette, they're kind of just getting started, and they're just wonderful people, you know, and he's trying to get more people on his YouTube channel. I think he's up to 800 subscribers now, and that was a struggle. And his YouTube videos aren't that great, you know,
No.
but he's new to it all, you know, but, you know, he's working hard at, you know, getting that product out there, and, you know, he's starting to ship to Canada now. And his goal is, in the next year, is to being able to start shipping over to the UK. You know, he's just got to work out all that paperwork and stuff, and just very nice folks. Matter of fact, I just ordered a T-shirt off of them so I could help advertise some more. So,
Yeah, he's pretty rough around the edges, but just down to earth, real
heart of
easygoing
gold.
guy.
Yep, heart of gold too. Yeah. And he, you know, my first package of axe polishing stuff, I actually won it from one of his Sunday drawings.
Same here.
Yeah, so I ended up turning around and buying another one, and then I bought a third one that we auctioned off at the club. And I still have Yorkshire Grit and Hampshire Sheen that I'm using. You know, it cost me a bunch, so I got to use it.
Right.
And actually, I think I've still got a jar of Triple E that I've had for quite a few years.
Yeah.
So, did I trick everyone when I grabbed this?
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Cool.
I didn't comment.
I know you didn't, pen maker.
Yeah.
Chris, you made your own what? Abrasive pen?
Abrasive face, I'd say, yeah.
See, I have two, and I like what I made. I mean, it does a good job. It's just the finer stuff that really puts the polish on it. I need to figure out what he put in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good night, Chris.
See you, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Bailey Woodworks is leaving.
From what I
See you later,
understand, he just buys diatomaceous earth off of Amazon.
And Robert keeps asking you, Blair, do you live near Provo?
I do live near Provo, and I have been to their store, and wasn't real impressed with the store. They've got a lot of pen turning stuff in there. I know. And I mean, it is a really, really small store. I mean, it's probably about as big as my bedroom in here.
Wow.
But they were really nice, great, you know, customer service and all of that. But yeah, they don't sell a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, my neighbor and I have actually driven down to Toledo, Ohio to their Woodcraft, which is a much nicer store. Really well stocked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the same person owns them. That's the,
Yeah.
that's the interesting thing. At least the one that's just across the border in Toledo.
Hodge is
Right.
talking about a store that it's called Craft Supplies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess they do a lot of online stuff. I guess that's where their money is.
They're actually a
yes.
sponsor of our club.
Yeah. And I've
So
got, from another club, I've got a gift certificate.
Yeah.
This is out of Ron Campbell's club on the other side of the
So-
state.
Actually, that's where I got my McNaughton coring system last year. Was from Craft Supply. They had the best price.
Huh.
And I called them up, and they were able to answer my technical questions and stuff like that. And so yeah, we like Craft Supply.
Yeah. I have McNaughton, and I really enjoy it. Mine's an old one, so I still fight with the different, what do you call it, the guard that you feed it through. Mine just has the pins in it, but that's fine.
Yeah.
It works.
Okay.
I modified it so I can lock it so as it doesn't swivel.
Right. You get used to what you have. So.
Yep.
I've used mine one time, and it was a horrific experience because, it's got a learning curve to it. So it was my first time. Kept having the Allen screws come loose, like everybody says. So they're all locked tight up now. So.
Yep.
I'm getting ready to use it again. I got a half a log on my shelf in the shop that is ready to be cored out and turned into a bowl. So. And that should end up being about a 13, 14-inch bowl.
Yeah. When I got mine, it was actually from the same person who gave me the lathe, and it came about 6 weeks later and had a nice bow around the package. And said, I belong to the lathe and I feel lonely.
That's cool.
I fall under the same agreement. So it's mine until I die. That's the agreement.
That's cool.
And well, I know who did it because he also slipped a couple times because we've been friends for quite a while. And he just didn't need any turning, and I do all of his stuff now too.
You're getting pretty good at doing that, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, practice got to make up for something, doesn't it?
Well, that's right.
That looks good.
Lots of cracks on the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Well,
that's the pith.
That just means it's more character.
Right.
Yeah. A Saturn cup.
Very nice.
Are you going to line the inside so you can drink out of it?
No. How you going, Paul?
Oh, good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Hello,
Hey.
Paul.
Oh, yeah.
G'day, Paul.
How's it going?
It's good to have another English-speaking person in.
Almost.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that one.
Yeah.
He can talk to a colony. I mean, used to be colonists.
Oh no, we're the Antipodeans over here.
Isn't that what they say? Nations divided by the same language or something like that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What time in the morning is it for you, Paul? About 2:30?
3:30 a.m. here.
Yeah, 3:30. Yeah.
So you'll just be waking up for your next online. And what musical instruments this time?
Yep. That's
New
right.
Year's.
I'm not sure we'll be there for that one. I might be busy.
So Blair, do you know Emily Wood?
No.
She's on Instagram. She doesn't have Facebook or anything, but she's a lady turner up in Utah, and she's pretty good. And she posts something every single day on Instagram.
Emily Wood, huh?
Yeah, well, that's how I know her. She got married late last year, so I don't know if she changed her last name or not. She goes by She Turns Wood. That's her Instagram.
That sounds really familiar.
Yeah.
And Sid's being sneaky. He's lurking in the background, so we can't talk about him. Gee, everybody's munching away.
I just got a Verner's. That's a Michigan thing.
Oh, man, Verner's is good. We like it here.
I've got these.
Yep. I got some potato chips that was brought to me because the kids opened up an extra bag and they don't want to have it out that they have two open when Daddy comes home. So they stashed the second bag with me.
I'll be back in a couple of minutes. I've got to go and check on something.
Okay, doke.
There's another lady turner that's just a few miles away from me. It's Wood Turning by Me, M-E. Her name's Megan. Oh, crud, I can't think of her last name. But she does some really good stuff, too.
Really? Is she on YouTube?
Yeah. Wood Turning by Me.
Okay, I'm going to look her up right now.
Yeah, I didn't know she was on Instagram. She turns wood.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like one of the first images is a tri-corner bowl. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know her.
Well, I'm going to subscribe.
Good heavens, look at all those tops. Whew. Oh, she's in Clearfield, which is probably a good 45 miles away from me.
Oh, okay.
In Utah, that makes you neighbors.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. There's another lady that I follow who's in Scarborough, Maine. Her name is Peggy, and PF Wood Turning. She has a YouTube channple.
Yeah,
and
I follow her.
Yeah, and it always strikes me funny because she always turns the Rockler maple bowl blanks. It's like it's very seldom you see her with anything. And I'm thinking that's got to be expensive. And but she's like 7 minutes from my nephew and his wife that just moved to Portland, Maine, last year. So we're thinking about doing a drive out that way this summer if we get our vaccinations, and I may give her a buzz and if she's open to visitors. No. She does a lot with dyeing woods, which some of the stuff she dyes. Personally, myself, I wouldn't dye. It's just too gorgeous. But that's personal preference, you know.
Well, there's people that paint, over gorgeous wood too, and that just curdles my skin,
Yeah, that's why they invented poplar.
Right?
Yeah.
Poplar is so boring.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever seen the rainbow poplar.
No, I haven't.
Rainbow poplar is really cool. I mean, you can look at a board or whatever, and it just has all of those different colors going through the wood. And,
oh, wow.
And you can turn it, and once it's turned and you put all of that stuff on there, a month later, all of it's gone. It just turns brown.
It's like box elder.
Yeah.
You're lucky if that red stays any period of time. But you know what? I've got a friend who's trying something because one of the things with Purple Heart is, it'll stay purple for quite a long period of time if you keep it out of the sunlight.
Right.
That's the trick with that. The other trick is put on a varnish that's got a UV protectant in it. And so he's going to try that with box elder to see if that helps keep the red in.
Now, one thing I've heard, though, with Purple Heart is if you heat it back up again, though, it'll get deeper and more purple again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just reading today about it where when they cut it down, it's brown. And it's after a period of time that it turns purple.
Yeah.
It's like a horse of many colors.
I thought that I thought that if you put purple heart out in the sun, it made it more purple.
From what I'm reading, it causes it to turn brown faster, actually. So they say keep it out of the direct sunlight. So this bowl that I just made, I sold it, and it's actually going to my wife's cousin in Hawaii, where we were there at his place this day last year. We spent 2 weeks there and got back just in time for shutdown. So
Nice. Bring
But,
home some koa wood.
I got 2 boxes of it downstairs.
Nice.
And actually, they had their house remodeled many years ago, and this koa was all the trim. And he had some koa 2x4, and he had some koa trim, and it has been setting out behind his shed in the sun for 10 years. And I went back and looked at it, and it's just gray and ugly, and it had cracks in a lot of it and everything. And I says, you know what? Let's cut it up. Let's put it in a box, and I'll ship it home, see what I can do. And I brought it home, and I sanded it down. It was gorgeous. So one of the first things I did was make a pen. But because it is so dry, I'm going to have to stabilize it.
Yeah.
But I got 2 of those postal boxes. They're $21 to ship. I got 2 of those full of it.
Nice. By the way, Jay, good job on the goblet. That looks really nice.
Cheers. To be honest, I was going to make it a captured ring, but I decided against it.
Just in spite. We saw
Yeah.
that. There was that grin that went over your face. It slowly migrated, and it was, I'll teach him.
So, Paul, what have you got going on these days?
Not a lot in the way of wood turning.
No?
No, I haven't had much time for that lately. I've got a full-time job as well, so that seems to be taking over.
That used to be my complaint. My job got in the way of everything I like to do.
Yeah, that's true.
And now that you're retired, I bet you don't have time to do anything else.
I don't have time to do anything. No.
Yeah.
And I remember my friends saying that. It didn't make any sense to me until I retired. And
Yeah, my father always said he never managed. He doesn't know how he fitted in work.
yeah, exactly. Oh God. But I'm not complaining.
No, better to keep the hands and the mind active. Otherwise, you might as well curl up and die.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's been what the VA keeps pushing on me once a week online.
Yeah.
And reminders on the phone constantly, because a lot of vets are having serious problems, those that have PTSD. It's reverting back because we're all stuck doing nothing. So I live in the shop.
Stuck with your thoughts.
Yeah, but I can put music on and watch
That's
movies
what I do.
in there.
Yeah. I get down there, I crank up the radio, or not the radio, my sound system. I have it hooked up, Bluetooth to my phone, so I just crank it up and listen to my favorite classic rock.
Oh, I just listen to classics or opera off my iPod.
Me, it's Broadway shows.
Jeff,
I could do some Broadway. I could do some opera too. I have certain operas that I like. I love Gilbert and Sullivan because they were kind of making fun of operas.
Oh, they were operettas, yeah.
Yeah. But it's mostly classic rock.
The opera I think is hilarious is one that poked fun at somebody that needed it, and it's the Threepenny Opera.
Oh, the Threepenny Opera, yeah.
I've done that as a stage play, set design. I acted in it. I've done it about 6 times because it's so much fun to be in.
Yeah. It's funny. My son is a composer of techno music, mostly rhythm. I guess they call it rhythm and stuff. And one of the things I was telling him is, I'm an old rocker. When I was a teenager, I had the rock band, and we actually got to open up for Jethro Tull, and got booed off the stage. But we did that. I worked in a recording studio in Ann Arbor for a period of time, and I got to be a session musician on an album with Cub Coda, who was the lead singer and guitarist for Brownsville Station. So, and that was an experience. Thank God I'm not into drugs, because man, there was mountains of coke everywhere. I mean, it was like a scene from Scarface. He had a table in the corner with a mountain of coke on it, and we do the bit. We have a take, and they're setting something up. He run over to the corner and he hit it, and they go, "Come on, Jeff!" No. So, and my name's not even on the album because I refused to join the music union. So I'm listed as other artist.
Not an equity person.
Right. But what I learned, though, in those days, I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandmother was kind of tyrannical, and she made me take piano lessons, which means I had to learn theory. I had to learn classical music. And then my dad, he was a diehard country western fanatic. And I don't mean the modern day country western. I'm talking the whine and hillbilly stuff like Tex Ritter and those guys, Porter Wagner.
Oh yeah, the originals.
But I learned to appreciate all music.
Hey Jay, Sid's backstage.
I must admit, I don't. There's only 2 or 3 genres of music that I don't like. Rap is one of them.
I don't like that. No, that's not music.
Hick country music, where the dog's died, the missus has nicked off with the next door neighbour, and the ute's broken down.
Yeah, that's what I call the whine and hillbilly.
Yeah, and but they're about. I can pretty well listen to anything else. I enjoy most other music, actually.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about gospel.
I like watching gospel, funnily enough. Like the way they sing it, and they really get into it. Like, and I'm not a religious person by any stretch of the imagination. If I walked into a church, it'd fall down, I think. But but I like some of the hymns and that. They're really good. You know, like just the musical scores and that of them.
Yeah.
But I can't play a note to save myself.
It's funny. I got a guitar sitting upstairs that I built in '91, and it was actually the gentleman that helped me teach me how to do that. Brian Delaney is Ted Nugent's Luther.
Oh yeah. Yes.
And so when I finished the guitar, and I took it in for Brian to try it out. It was a place in Ann Arbor called Al Nally Music where he worked at. And so they called him up from the basement where his shop was, and he pulled it out and plugged it into the amp, and he just started wailing on it. And he says, "Jeff, this is really good." He says, "Action's a little high. We got to work on that a little bit." But he says, "Let's get a real professional opinion." I goes, "Okay." So he picks up the phone, he makes a phone call, and a couple minutes later, the basement door opens up, and Ted Nugent walks out.
Oh my gosh!
And so he introduced me to Ted, and I just drooled. And because the very first rock tune that I cut my teeth on when I was a kid was the Amboy Dukes' "Journey to the Center of Your Mind." That's what turned me on to Detroit rock, which eventually became hard rock.
I got a piece of tidbit that I haven't talked about in a long time because people don't know Ted and Ann Arbor and Ted's studio that was south of Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
Because at that time I was running a research lab on North Campus in microcomputers, where the Radio Shack Model 1 was partly invented.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a lot of fun because do you remember his Bound and Gagged video and the Heads Will Roll video? Those were the first 2 music videos ever done, and because of that was used to start a whole new business in music videos, and he did the first 2.
Interesting.
And I was the technical director and made them work and spent hours, hundreds of hours there doing editing, and it was all shot on quad to make sure that it was perfect, and we dumped it down to 1 inch. It was easier to edit electronically, and it was for Panasonic, for a new release that they wanted to use the software for, that actually used a real a video cassette machine for education purposes. That one of they were trying to find different reasons to buy the machine and use them. It was to create a video jukebox where you could put your money in and it would play a video. You'd have a bank of these players, but it would pipe it to your table and play it. And those were two of the demos that were used at CES to introduce the concept of video jukeboxes. And Ted loved it. They were over 2 million plays of those two, and it was all effects. And the heads will roll, of course, was on the gallows and all that, and had scenes of the story. And on the other one, Bound and Gagged, we had elephants keeping time to the beat from the drummer of marching and moving, and I went crazy doing that for him. It took 7 months to cut it in 1-inch videotape there on campus.
Wow!
I must admit, the first video jukebox I saw, I was 16 years old, and I can even remember the song they were playing, "Ruby Baby."
Yeah.
They hadn't invented video then when you were 16, Robbo?
Oh, yes, they had. No, it was a video jukebox. It was our hangout of a Saturday afternoon, because most of us used to work Saturday mornings. And we'd all gather in Santa Maria's Cafe on Bay Street in Frankston. There'd be about 10 or 20 of us there. So, yeah, good days.
Back then, the major source of video was all quad, 4-inch videotape, broadcast quality. The home stuff just wasn't accurate enough, and that's when they come out with this machine and designed it for schools, and it was fun doing it. But I got to know Ted real well. I've even got one of his bows that his bow maker made for me, so I could go shooting with him.
Yeah.
But
Well,
years ago.
It was really cool having him wail on my guitar and say and tell me that it was a wonderful. He called it a kick-ass axe.
Oh yeah.
And I
you
thought,
ever go to a studio south of the city?
No, never been to. That was the only time I ever saw him.
And they call it the barn because that's what it was. He built a studio inside of a barn that happened to have a motel unit within walking distance, and he went and bought the motel unit. So his band, if they got too drunk, they had place to sleep. And if you were singing with them, you got a room in the motel unit, and you could walk now across the field to the barn because the studio was inside, and they could wail, and there was no neighbors, just cows.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that.
Pause. I'll stop being rude and say hello, Paul and Jeff.
Hello there. How you doing?
We know you've been lurking. We know you've been lurking in the background.
Oh, just off and on. Just enough to know that I can keep up with you when you're talking about me.
Yeah. And to Robert, I'm sorry Harry has stooped to that level to make a rap video.
Have you seen someone about that?
Hey?
I was just wondering if Harry's seeing anyone about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Might need counselling after that. just to fill anybody in. I think Blair and Bob know Robert has a beaver that he uses while he's turning, and it's become quite a joke around the internet or amongst the wood turners. So Harry the hairy beaver he is, and occasionally he'll actually turn, and He does more turning now than what Robert
I
does.
actually suspect, Robbo, that I was about to say that I suspect some of the good stuff that's coming out is actually Harry, not Hodge.
Yeah, well, I reckon so too.
And Harry's got a girlfriend now, Sveti.
Yeah.
Hey, what gossip?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Didn't you know? Like he got a Russian bride, mate. It's Svetlana. She hasn't got around to taking. Yeah, she hasn't got around to taking all his money yet, but I think she's probably working on it.
Oh, yeah, well, there you go. I don't keep up with any of the gossip. I'm not lurking well enough, obviously.
Yeah.
But who'd ever think that wood turning shows, a person at a lathe turning something could end up with a comedy and have people follow it for the soap opera? And then they're the ones that write the soap opera and chat.
Yeah.
And if it's in print online, it has to be true.
Oh,
Sorry, Robert. I thought the marriage had taken place and everything. So she's only in town for the weekend. I see a dirty weekend in Harry's outcome here.
You got anything like that, Paul, on your side of the pond going on?
Who knows?
I haven't seen any
Well, some
turners come up
of
with
the UK
comedy
turners,
shows.
They don't need a Harry.
Sorry? I missed that one. Did you?
Oh,
I like that, Robert. Yeah, he found her on Timber, not Tinder.
Oh, dear.
oh, that's so
terrible.
bad, Robert. So
oh
bad.
yeah.
I better block him for that one.
The program.
Well, we're all running to a script, of course. You all got your copies, didn't you?
There you go. You were frozen there for a minute, Sid.
Yeah, I'm
Stage
hotspotting
fright.
off my phone, so yeah, that's what it is. I'm so shy I get stage fright.
Hey, Paul, is there anybody in your group there in Europe that does crazy stuff like this, or like some of the stuff we're seeing come out of our wood turning shows on this side of the pond?
Not that I know of, no.
Probably because of the stiff upper lip concept.
No, maybe I think maybe just they haven't thought of it yet. But you never know.
I don't know.
It's too cultured in the UK, Dr. Bob.
Rob CP. If you watch his YouTube, that guy, he kills me. He can make a sailor blush.
I've got to put a point of order in here, though. That man is not a learner wood turner.
Yeah, Sid, you're breaking up on your sound. It's something shocking. You have to say that again.
Didn't catch what you said, Sid.
Is that better? Close
Yeah, you got
tabs. I'm operating off my phone. Hotspot.
Yeah, you got horrible
Is that better
latency there, or you got horribly latency or lag.
Yeah, Rob CP is definitely entertaining, but I struggle to believe that he's a learner wood turner.
Yeah, same here. I actually don't watch him because of the language, but that's my little problem.
Yeah, I think he bluffs a lot about being a new wood turner because he turns out some really good stuff.
Yep.
I do like to watch the wood turners that are entertaining, though.
Oh, yeah.
I've not seen him. You know, I think I mentioned before, I love watching Nick Cementi and Stuart Farini.
Stuart Farini's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, two different types of humor. Totally different types. I even like William Hunt. Oh, he hasn't been on a whole lot in the last year. He's more of a dry sense of humor.
Yeah, Robert, I agree that Robert just dives head first into some crazy turnings as a beginner, and he does a great job. But I was just, well, I have a little bit of trouble understanding him because he's got a broad Irish accent, and I'm just not into the swearing bit, that's all.
Hey guys, Tammy just got home, so I'm gonna go ahead and say sayonara.
All right, see you later, Blair.
Take care, Blair. Good seeing you again.
Take care, Blair.
Good to see you guys. See ya.
Okay, take care. Yeah, I can, I'm not a prude, but I can live without the language too.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I'm not
I don't care if they drop an F-bomb or something once in a while, but when they use it so much, it becomes distracting and takes away from what's going on.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm the same, but places I've been to, I can really let fly if I have to, but I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's really important is the fact that people will migrate to programs that they like and approve of, and those that they don't or have a problem with it just aren't there. And it's another whole group of people that they attract. But it's not like a TV where you're limited to maybe 20 or 30 TV channels in an area, or like cable today, you got 1,200 channels available.
And still nothing to watch.
They have that in DC, in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
1,200 cable channels Comcast has. Northern Virginia, D.C., and Maryland.
Wow.
Dr. Bob,
it's available.
1,200 cable channels, and you're here watching Jay on YouTube. That says a lot about the 1,200 cable channels.
Yeah, I'm not in D.C. Well, they have them because they got so many people from foreign countries, so they bring in cable from almost every country we have an embassy or a consulate with.
I'm a bit worried about what Jay's. I'm a bit worried about what Jay's doing there. It doesn't look too good. Doesn't look too good from this angle.
It looks like he's enjoying himself. That's all right.
He's smiling.
Yeah, he is.
I don't think
he's not smiling. He's doing it wrong.
He's enjoying himself.
Yeah. He just gave it away. He's sanding something.
Well, I knew what he was doing.
I've always heard polishing was another term for it, but
we had a friend's father who was 92 years old, and he came from Hungary or Austria or something. He didn't speak very good English anyway. But John came around one day and he said, "Look, have you got something the old man can do just to get him out of the house for an hour or two a day to give him some interest in life?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, you can come around here and annoy me." So the first job we had was sanding down a big tabletop. So I gave him some sandpaper and a block, and he started on it. But he never called it sanding. It was always rubbing, you know. And he did it. He spent hours sanding that down and thoroughly enjoyed himself. He thought it was fantastic fun, you know. And he got a mirror finish on the tabletop and dead flat. So I was happy. He was happy.
And that's the one thing everybody hates to do is sand.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah. I tell you, I'd just about pay somebody to do it.
Yeah. like I said, I did all that today by hand. My shoulder is killing me.
Yeah, I had an order for 100 presentation boxes out of Australian blackwood, acacia melanoxylon. Now, for those that don't know, machining blackwood, you end up with pick out in it. It just chips out. It doesn't matter how sharp the cutters are or anything else, it just picks out. Just little spots. The only way to get rid of it is to sand it. So, fortunately, I had enough built into the price of doing the panels, because they had to be 8 millimeters thick, or 5/16 of an inch for the Americans. And the only way I could do it was I bought a 2244 belt sander, like I forget the name of it now, but geez, it did a nice job, and you just fed them through. It was a big drum sander with a belt underneath it, and you just thicknessed it down. Not a Powermatic, it's called something else. It's been taken over by Jet now, but what a fantastic machine. It just saves so much time.
Nice.
So nobody minded standing there just feeding them in and pulling them out at the other end. Got a bit boring after a while, but
right.
You got 400 sides, 400 tops, 400 bottoms, and oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm cutting in and out from my end as well now, so I'm going to duck out and just lurk on YouTube, listening to your bullshit.
All right, then. No worries, Sid. There'll be plenty of that.
See you, Ducky.
I'm sure they'll take care, guys. Nice to meet you, Jeff. Nice to see you again, Paul. See you, Dr. Bob, Robbo, Jay.
Yep.
Take care, Sid.
Cheers.
Now, I must say, Jeff, I look forward to the Detroit meetings.
Well, good. I'm glad you do. We have a lot of fun. Considering that we're Zooming and not face-to-face. But that was my goal. That was my goal, is to try to keep it as relevant as possible. And that's something we continue to work at, too. What's really become a hit is the Turner's Talks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And we've done those on days we couldn't get anybody to volunteer to do workshops. So
as I said to you once earlier, just give me a hoy if you need a demonstration or anything. I'll set something up.
We'll be doing that. But I was giving us some thought the other day. We get the workshops and the demos and stuff filled up like we want to do. Then I'm going to still have the Turner's Talks, and I'm just going to have them on different days.
Oh, yeah.
The last one was the best, because we had, it was more structured. We had questions that I posed to people, and everybody just kind of raved about that. So
yeah. Hey, Jeff, why don't you arrange, if you can, to get Paul linked in so he could attend a couple to see how we do our stuff on our side of the pond?
Yeah. We allow guests.
Yeah, they let me in there.
Yeah, we'll let anybody in.
Yeah.
So
when it pops up, I'll send them one.
Yeah, if you could do that. That link will be going out probably Monday of next week. We'd love to have you come by. And we actually had so many people coming in as guests now from all over the world that we started a membership called Friends of the DAW.
Yep.
And and it's $30, and I think we got 4 people that have signed up so far. Mm-hmm. And that makes you eligible to come to the members only stuff too, like our demos and stuff. So, but
and I was first.
Yes, he was. You were first. I can't remember who came in second, and then Cade just came in yesterday. I noticed his name come across.
Yeah, no, he was on. He was on here yesterday, and he was inquiring about how to go about it. So we sort of explained to him that he could get in there.
Yeah.
Isn't
I'll
isn't
join
this
when
a
I can
small
afford
world?
it. I don't know when that'll be, but I'll join when I can afford it.
Yep. Bob, it is a small
Oh.
world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jeff. I'll tell you one of the things that I think is one of the most marvelous things I have seen in my life, and I've seen a heck of a lot over 75 years that I have memory of, is the fact that we were all sitting here, what, a week and a half ago, with our nightly talk, and all of a sudden his lathe gave out. And Robo was trying to talk him through how to check it and check the electrics because evidently Australia is a real badass for what you can do electrically for your own stuff. But talked him through it, and it was determined that the switch was bad. And you could see instantly the look on his face that that's a problem because it might be a month before he could get it going again. And while we're all talking about it and other ways of fixing it, somebody came up in the chat with a text of the fact that the part was waiting for him to be picked up and it's paid for.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
I
that
think
was-
is the finest thing I have ever seen done online anywhere in my life. And even prior to that, it's just somebody, they found the part, they knew what was needed, they paid for it and had it ready in a store that he could go get it at. And the person that did it was what, 500-600 miles away or more?
Yeah.
No, that was Sid. Sid's only 300 kilometres away.
Only.
Well,
Robert wants to know what time the DA, what weekends do you guys meet? I'd say that's addressed to you, Jeff.
what was the question?
What weekend do you guys meet? It's the third Saturday, isn't it?
It's the third Sunday of the month.
Third Sunday.
Yep, every month except for where holidays interfere, like Christmas and Easter and stuff like that. Then we'll have it the second.
I like that because Grand Rapids is on the Saturday.
Yeah. So, and the club website has a calendar, shows all of our meetings. Yeah. So it's been a challenge, but it's been fun. You know, this is my first year as president. I've got or last year was my first year as president. It was a hell of a way to start. So, and this will be my final year, and you know, we're hoping that by the end of the year we're going to be able to meet face to face. That's our goal, and we'll just have to see.
Yeah. And the nice thing is when that happens, I think we'll still be online.
Oh, we'll definitely still do Zoom because we have people all over, and it works out great because you know the age frame in our club there have been quite a few people that haven't been able to make meetings because they're sick or they've been shut in for whatever reason, and they can still attend. So
yeah. And then
that
we
worked
got
out
our young magic wand maker who makes a killing doing wands.
yeah. Yeah.
Right, Robert, I've just put a link into the Detroit Area Woodturners homepage on their thing there. And yeah, Blair had a spindle gouge shipped to him from England with only the request that he pay it forward in the future. Yeah, one of the English woodturners sent him over a spindle gouge.
Ah.
Oh,
Oh, lots of strange things happen on the internet.
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. When I was in college in 1977, 76, 77, and if you would have told me then that I'd be sitting here in an evening, you know, talking to people in other parts of the world and seeing their faces while we're talking, I would have told you were crazy. You know, and I was involved in technology at the time, but you know, it just no. And My grandmother, who was hardcore Southern Baptist, to her this is Revelations. This is the end of the world.
Yeah.
There's apparently passages that say that you'll be able to see everything in the world.
It's rather interesting. There's the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, are releasing videos from that they did in the mid to late 70s and the early 80s about what the world is going to look like. And they're actual interviews with scientists and things like that. And there was one last night. There was a big expo in 1984 about computers and the new games that had come out. And it was very, you look at them, the monitors like a bloody side of a carton, you know, because they had the old CRC ones. And the future of computers, and nobody got it right.
No.
Nobody.
Well, we're supposed to be in flying cars now.
Yeah, well, that's right.
That was by the year 2000. Yeah. And the 1934 World's Fair had that giant robot that was the robot of the future that was going to take care of all your needs around the house and everything. Yeah. And he even smoked a cigarette. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing was the paperless office. I don't know if you had that out in America, but in Australia, yep.
That's all we've heard for the last 15, 20 years, paperless office. And you know, paperless office creates an awful lot of paper.
You're dead right. I've never had so many archive files in my bloody life just for taxation, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God.
But no, it's rather interesting looking at the old films of what things of the future were going to look like.
Yeah. Yep.
They got some things right, I must admit, but there was a few that were well off the beam.
Yeah. We were also supposed to have jet-powered cars by now, rather than internal combustion.
Well, as a mechanic, I think I would have laughed 30 years ago if somebody had said to me, "We're going to make a 5-cylinder diesel motor," and I would have laughed. And not only that, it will rev to 10,000 revs, and will stop at traffic lights and restart again so as it saves fuel. And I've been rolling on the ground by then.
Right. Yeah.
But that's what I've got, 5-cylinder diesels that stop and start at traffic lights. And
Yep.
Well, all of our cars over here are doing that now. Are gas powered. You know, that's all of them. By law has to do that. And then my neighbor just got a new car recently. It's a 3-cylinder. You know, I was surprised to see that. Well, because it's so small, they couldn't put a 4 in it.
Yeah, the early Suzukis were a 3-cylinder as well. Like the Suzuki Sierra, I think it was. It was one of the small 4-wheel drives. The outback farmers out there loved them. In fact, Toyota went into a massive tailspin when they were released because everybody was buying them that lived on the big stations and that. They all wanted to know why they were buying them. They said, they're that light that if they get stuck in sand, they can lift them out.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually had over here, Ford had a car in the early 80s called the Fiesta. And it was basically a go-kart with a body on it. It had wheels about this big around.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine called me up one day and he says, and he had a Fiesta, and we just had a snowstorm, and he says, my car is stuck in the Wendy's parking lot. And I goes, what do you mean it's stuck? He says, I can't get out of the snow ruts. I goes, we got 4 inches of snow. What are you talking about? And he says, I can't get it out. So I called up 2 or 3 of my buddies. We all went over there, and we just kind of pushed it off to the side. Got him
going. Robert, you're probably right. We don't get the same models out here as what you get in the States, or sometimes even English cars are modeled differently too. So it was just virtually a square box on 4 wheels with a motor and a gearbox.
Yeah. And you could have the same models. They just give them different names too.
Oh, that's right.
I
Yeah.
noticed that with Canada. There's we have quite a few of cars that I saw when I was driving up in Canada that I looked at it and it goes, well, that's not what that's called.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And then
Yep.
New Zealand again is different from us. Like we call them Subarus. I don't know what you call them in America, but over there they
Yep.
call them Subarus.
Subarus,
And-
huh?
Yeah, Subarus. And there used to be a thing on there called motorway cops, and it was they patrolling the freeways in New Zealand. I was going to pull over this Subaru, and I thought, Subaru, what the hell's a Subaru? And then you see the badge, and of course it's a Subaru, and you go, oh yeah, bloody New Zealanders.
Well, that's okay. When I started watching Turners from the UK, I had to figure out what aluminium was.
Oh, well, yes, but that's the correct name, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah.
Do you know, actually, there's the history of why you spell it the way it is.
Yeah.
The company that started making aluminium left out the I, and it just became known as aluminum in the States.
They left it out. They left it out by accident.
I don't know, but that was the reason that I was reading about the other day. But it's the same as solder. I'm listening to these Americans talking about electronics and stuff. Solder, what the hell's this solder? And then I see him pick up a soldering iron to solder a joint. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's right. One more letter just disappeared off the alphabet, you know.
Well, you know, technically we're supposed to pronounce it with the L, but we don't. And I used to have a boss when I worked in the lab that gave me grief about that. He says, the L's there for a reason. Use it.
Yeah. Yeah, same as burrs and burls. Yeah, you call them burls. We call them burls out here too. The English call them burrs.
Yep. Used to be a gentleman from England, Terry Seabrook. He was a very famous magician over there, and he was on TV with Paul Daniels quite a bit. And him and I became close friends when I was doing the touring and stuff. And he was talking about when he first came over to America that he got in trouble with using the terms that they use in England and stuff like that. And he was talking about being on a train, taking a train cross country in America. And they had the sleeping berths, and they had a young lady. She was trying to get up into her bunk or up into her sleeping berth. And he said, "Would you like a bunk up?" And he said, "She slapped me." I said, "You should use that in your show. That's a funny joke." And he ended up putting that in.
Well, it's the same as fanny. Like fanny in America means backside, doesn't in English.
No.
You can get yourself really slapped.
But we've also had terms here that we used to use that we don't use anymore. It used to be like in the 30s and 40s, to tell a lady she was very snaky was a comment or a compliment. It meant she was dressed to the hilt, very fine fashion and stuff. She was snaky. You don't call them that now.
Well, no.
Yep.
No, well, snaky means vicious.
Mm-hmm.
But no, a lot of things have changed. Like you can't compliment anybody these days without them taking offence at it.
I know.
Convinced of that.
Yeah, everybody's so sensitive.
Like there was a woman with her daughter shopping there a couple of weeks ago when I was in the supermarket, and she had the most gorgeous curls I've ever seen. Beautiful blondie coloured hair, and a smile that went from ear to ear,
Mm-hmm.
And I said to the lady, I said, "Look, please don't take this wrong." I said, "But your daughter has the most gorgeous head of hair and the best smile I've ever seen." She turned around and she said, "Thank you." She said, "I hear so many people say, oh, if somebody said that to my daughter, I'd be ringing the cops up, And I said, "Why?" She said, "Yeah, well, I can't understand it either."
Mm.
So
Yeah.
we've definitely gone to pot, I think.
Well, the big culprit there is the news media.
Oh, yeah.
former boss of mine who I still communicate with and I have a lot of respect for. He said the worst thing that ever happened to America was 24-hour news because there's not enough news to report 24 hours a day. So they
Well,
got to create it. And so they create all these things that get people inflamed and upset. And then the other thing is, they report on news that they don't have to report on. It's like I said here
oh,
in Detroit, Michigan, and it's really sad when a family of 5 out in Los Angeles die in a fire in their house. It's really sad, but it's not news worth reporting here.
no,
They're always breaking into to show police chases on the LA freeway. It's not news here, but people like to watch it because those will go on for 5 or 6 hours.
oh yeah. Well, I think Australia's fairly lucky, actually. Our news services in general are, they're sensationalists, I must admit, but they do give a general good worldwide coverage of news, whereas from what I've seen talking and hearing from most Americans is that your American news is very parochial. It doesn't extend much outside the country,
Right.
Like when 9/11 happened, we were watching it live in Australia.
Wow.
And that caused a few arguments amongst people too.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was sitting with my working crew. I was working for a bank in downtown Detroit, and we were sitting in the conference room. We were just getting ready to have a meeting, and one of my coworkers came in. He was a couple minutes late. He says, "Have you heard?" And I goes, "What?" He goes, "A plane has hit the World Trade Center." Now we've had small planes hit buildings in New York before. That's why they made it a no-fly zone. But it's happened. So I said, "So a little private airplane hit the World Trade?" He says, "No." He says, "A big jetliner." And then our TV was hooked up to cable, so we had to quickly fashion an antenna for it and everything, and we got enough of the picture we could see what was going on, and we're just sitting there in shock, absolutely in shock. And I knew 2 people who worked in the World Trade Center at the time, and one of them was off sick that day, and the other one was across the street when the second tower came down. He was in the building across the street, and he was seriously injured by flying debris that came through the walls.
Yeah.
It was just, it was just such a shocking thing to see.
My brother actually worked on the 33rd floor of the World Trade Center, and that particular day, his boss had rung him first thing in the morning and said, "Look, I want you to go out to a job site rather than coming." He was an IT bloke. "I want you to go to a job site rather than come into work. Just go direct from your house in the Bronx or wherever he used to live and go straight out to the job site." So had he not gone to the job site, he would have been in the building.
Yeah.
So he was pretty lucky.
There's been quite a few stories like that's come out since then.
But
I have one. I had been in the Pentagon working on the standards for the smart card, ID card, government ID, because I was on the research body, and we were at that time getting ideas of what people felt they needed to have, and it would be for a military ID. And that time there were going to be 4 different cards, and we finally the working group got it down to 1. The military card, ID card is good anywhere. But I had just left the Pentagon an hour before. Got on the subway. I had made it back to Manassas where I was at, and had sit down with my sister in a diner that we meet to have lunch in. And we watched the plane hit the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I had just left there, and our phone service in the Virginia went out instantly. No phones, because a switch for the city of Manassas and the county was the backup for the Pentagon.
Yeah.
We Australia
the switch in the Pentagon.
Australians copped a lot of flack over that, actually, because typical people. You knew it was going to happen. You're 11 hours ahead of us. Why didn't you tell us?
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that on the news. Stupid
Ah.
people.
Well, that's the same thing they're saying about the psychics who said they predicted it, but there was no psychic that predicted it. You know?
Yeah,
And yeah, it was a sad day, very sad day.
it was. Like,
Yeah.
all right,
And then and that is news that should have been reported all over. You know,
yeah,
that's what TV was invented for in the first place, was dissemination of information. So I've actually been watching the thing, a little bit, not as much as before, but the new impeachment stuff on Trump, and and somebody was asking me about that the other day. I said, this is why TV was invented, so we know what's going on, and but yeah, it's neither here or there. It's but yeah, it's just the fact that we can sit here now and talk halfway around the world to each other.
Yeah.
That's just
yeah, it's phenomenal.
I spent my whole life in technology, and it still amazes me. It really does.
Amen.
Yep.
Amen.
And I always said that I was born a little too soon, because I would sure like to be one of those tourists heading up on one of the Elon Musk trips going up to the moon. He's going to be doing that in about 10 years. And,
Oh, you have my trouble, Jeff. You're either too early or too late.
Yeah. I always said I'd like to have been grown up in my grandfather's time, because my grandfather was born in 2006. So he was there for the first cars that went out of production. Matter of fact, his uncle had a Model T, and on the weekends he used to give people rides for a penny, and probably made a lot of good money, But
Probably.
my grandfather was there for that. He was there to see aviation take off. He was there for World War II. Matter of fact, he volunteered to go, and they wouldn't take him because he worked at Great Lakes Steel, and they said they needed him there first. That's the most important place. So he was actually working on steel that was going right next door to the Nicholson docks to build battleships.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'd love to. About the 1920s, with the knowledge that I've got now, I reckon I could have a real good time.
Yeah,
And be very wealthy. I'd be like Forrest Gump and buy some shares in that fruit company that he bought.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, everybody asked me, do you think we'll be doing this? Especially about the club. When do you think we're going to be getting back together? I don't know. And my comment is, if I could tell the future, I wouldn't be sitting here right now, because I'd be a multi-billionaire.
Yeah, that's right.
Or I'd be coming to you from my yacht.
I think Jay's getting a wind-up call from Amber somehow to go and get to you. Are you, Jay? No? It's all right. I just saw you get up and I thought, hello, he's about to say something.
So you got his hand signals down now.
No. I'll have to duck inside for a minute, but I'm not turning the live off.
Oh, okay. Jeez, it might be like yesterday and still be going 6 hours later. No, I think we've lived through some interesting times, really.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think the most interesting for me, when I hear everything that goes on today and that's overlooked, is that Jeff and Paul, we lived through the duck and cover period.
Yeah.
As kids.
Yep.
And we were naive to think that would save us.
Yep.
Because the news media pushed it in order, and it came down from the president, because if he knew in talking to his groups, and that was Ike, is the fact that it would cause a major panic. And they were afraid of having a major panic.
Yeah. I remember the air raid drills when I was 5 years old at school. We had to get underneath the tables, and it's sort of like the tornado drills, except we didn't go out in the hall. We got underneath our desk and put our heads down.
Me
like
too.
that would do anything. But
I was on the east side at Ives Elementary, and we had an old boiler room that they sent us to.
Well,
Had,
I must
had the
admit,
big radiation tag on it, the
Yep.
symbol. Yep.
Yeah.
we never had any of that in Australia, I must admit. So, but our Prime Minister at the time said we're really under no threat. So everybody just sort of shrugged their shoulders and said, yeah, righto, well, let's get on with life.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned many years later that Detroit was number 16 on the hit list for nuclear bombs.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I-94 from the tank arsenal, the highway from the tank arsenal, I forget the street it's on. But 94, at that point, the right-hand lane heading out towards the airport is something like 4 foot of concrete originally and reinforced. And it was done that way and intentional when they built the ditch, because remember, that was its nickname. So they could take tanks from the arsenal in case the railhead got hit and drive them out, and get them on barges and boats to deliver them and drive them down. We got the whole, super highway built because it was a national defense project
right.
before anybody else.
Yeah.
Just so we could get tanks out, but they wouldn't tell anybody that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Big thing for me then was, being a kid, growing up with a space race. We all wanted to be astronauts. John Glenn was my hero. I watched every single launch I could. And then Apollo 11, when they took off for the moon, they took off on my birthday. And then 4 days later, they landed on the moon. And my mom got me up because it was 2 o'clock in the morning. And she got me up so I could watch that. And I was just in seventh heaven. So,
Well, they landed on the moon in my birthday.
They did. Okay.
Yeah.
July 20th.
July the 2nd, I thought.
No, July 20th. July 16th, they took off.
Oh, right. Well, no, they missed it by 18 days. I'd have to have a word with them about that.
Yeah. I could have been one of the other ones, though, too. So.
Yeah. Where were you, Paul, when that happened? That was international.
Sorry, what would you say, Bob?
Where were you when man landed on the moon?
I was 4 years old then, or thereabouts. Three.
Yeah.
You're just the youngest.
A lot about that.
Yeah, I was 12 years old. Yeah. And the cool thing is, many years later, when in the early 80s, when I was traveling for Northern Telecom around the country, I had to go to United Airlines headquarters outside of Chicago. And, excuse me. And I was checking in at the lobby to go back to the data center, and Neil Armstrong came in. And he was a chairman of the board at the time. And he came in and stopped off at the front desk and said hi to the gang there. And I kind of looked up at him in shock, and I goes, "You're Neil Armstrong?" And he goes, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "In your name?" And I gave him my name, and we shook hands, and he went walking off. And they goes, "He's the nicest guy in the world." So, but yeah, that was a huge thing for me, the space race. And I really like what's going on now with it too, because we're really getting actively involved in it again, and big time, and a lot of that credit goes to Elon Musk. He's really the one that pushed it when everybody laughed at him. And
what astounded me about it was that this has more computing power than what was used to send a man to the moon.
Yeah, the computers on the lunar. Yeah, the computers on the lunar module are nothing more than calculators.
That's right.
Really, all they were. So, it's amazing.
It was actually a big thing in Australia because Parkes radio station, which is an observatory, they had to update their disk and everything, to pick up the radio signals from the lunar module, because we were the only country in the world where they could relay the signals through when when it swung around from America. And one of my father's friends was actually based there at the time, and he was really interesting to listen to about what went on and this and that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what amazes me, and I just found out about it because of one of the kids here learned it at school. STS, the space station, they have an app now for the phone, cell phone, or for a computer, and they've had them, but they've added a new feature. It will track. As long as you have GPS on your phone turned on, it'll tell you when it's overhead. So you know it's overhead. And why do you want to know when it's overhead? It's because you can text and talk to the people in it live. As it goes overhead, there's somebody there to answer questions. And in multiple, even the Russian side. So as they're going overhead, you have like 4.5, 5 minutes to ask a question, and you're talking to somebody in space, and they're talking back to you.
Yeah.
And schools do it all the time.
Yeah.
But they do it with live video.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it was a YouTube video, it was something else I was watching about the Russian space race against the Americans to get to the man on the moon. Geez, they had a lot of disasters, I tell you.
Yeah.
They had rockets exploding. And the final thing was the only thing they got right was their space station, which is still up there.
Yeah. Well, do you remember when communism fell and that cosmonaut that was up there and he couldn't get a hold of anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like a week and a half, could not get a hold of anybody. And finally the Americans got through to him. They found the channel and everything. Oh, I just couldn't imagine being in that position.
Yeah.
Abandoned in space.
That was another...
Which country do I belong to now?
Yeah, exactly. That was another amazing thing to see. I remember being up one late evening because I couldn't sleep watching TV, and they broke in on what I was watching with a news report that the Berlin Wall was coming down and people attacking the Berlin Wall and everything. And I was in shock. I went up and woke up my wife and had her come down and watch it with me. And,
do you know that was actually a mistake?
Really?
Yeah, it was a radio transmission on radio in an interview with one of the Russian diplomats or whatever it was, and everybody listening interpreted it as we're going to tear down the wall, so they did.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And that was the beginning and the end of communism. Yeah.
Yeah, I collect a lot of trivial information just browsing around the net, you know.
Well, that's me too. My wife calls me a warehouse of worthless knowledge.
That's yeah. I mean, I better not tell my wife that.
Fantastic, because I have a relative that helped put the tunnel in under the.
My wife just says my head's full of trivial shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I used to be killer at Trivial Pursuit. Yeah.
Oh, me too. No,
well,
in the end, what happened with me, Jeff, was that none of our relations would play with me, or there'd be 4 of them against me. You know.
Right. Right. Yeah, the social studies one. Those were the questions that always killed me because I was never interested in that in school like I should have been. But I was always interested in entertainment. You know, I was interested in music and acting because I wanted to be an actor and stuff like that. So, you know, I remember my first wife, we were playing it with some friends, and the question was something to the effect of who ran against Elizabeth Taylor. Who was a runner-up with Elizabeth Taylor for the best Oscar for the movie Cleopatra? And I named the name. And they're sitting there going, how do you know that? You know, it's just that was the stuff I was interested in, and
Yeah. I reckon the internet was invented for me. Just wandering around, you know, and
yeah,
very entertaining sometimes.
yeah, definitely, most definitely.
And I remember the time that we had even trying to get a connection between my lab in Ann Arbor on North Campus with our computers and Wayne State's lab. And it took 7.5 months for Ma Bell to get us a clean pair end to end. We could do teletype back and forth,
Yeah,
but all the half taps that they had caused so much echo, the best we could get was 50 baud. And that
wow,
was it. That was the best.
yeah,
And we were really happy. We could make our, remember the silent 700s? I carried
Yeah.
one of those around when they come out all the time, buy paper by the case from my lab.
Yeah.
But we thought that was fantastic. And then the big thing was, can we do this to California? And the mainframe boys couldn't, but we played with toys.
yeah,
Dick Boltz was the head of computer science at that time, and computers had to be Amdals or better, because we had Charlie Amdahl donate an Amdahl to the university. And that was interesting. And so they were on Central Campus, and we had our own hideout out in North Campus. And we did more stuff than they had ever dreamed of. We had an ATM prototype to Apple Bank, if you're familiar with Apple when it was there.
hmm
But they actually had, but remote banking laws said that there had to be a person actually talking to you in real time. So we had to use a Radio Shack Model 2 computer as our basis to hook up and then wire everything together as a prototype. And the teller inside the bank, because it didn't say, they had to see you. They didn't say how far away you had to be, but had to be able to talk. But the proof of concept for ATMs was done on North Campus. And
Yeah,
Mr. Domino's, he was the first person to actually take money and order food at the North Campus Pizza. His Domino's store on for North Campus, they could take orders and digitally on silent 700s, and it worked.
yeah,
And everyone said, "No, that's impossible. No one will do it."
yeah. He was also the first one to have where you would call 1-800 number and it would automatically connect you anywhere in the country to your specific Domino's store.
Yes. And that's because of SS7 signaling, and he was way ahead of it because he had people who helped write the code for that signaling. But it wouldn't, half the time, it had to be 800 numbers because that went through a separate switch.
Yeah.
well,
And they were all
maybe
SS7.
maybe he should have kept with computers instead of pizzas. I've only ever had 2 Domino's pizzas, and they weren't real flash, I'm afraid.
They're for students who are drinking and smoking, and I don't mean cigarettes.
Right.
At that time.
Well, my very first computer that got me on the internet was a Commodore 64. And I had a 300 baud modem, and the internet was all text. So you could chat with somebody, and you could just, like having a conversation, because it would just scroll across the screen slowly, and you just read it as they were typing back, and you type your stuff. And
That's why these 2 fingers are shorter than each other from smacking the bloody keyboards.
Yeah, these are my fingers, my keyboard fingers. Yeah. In high school, I had to take typing, and I flunked, even though I could type 45 words a minute and not make a mistake, because I only use these fingers, and I use this for the shift, or I mean the space. And she didn't like that, so she flunked me.
Yeah, I had the same problem.
Yeah.
For a wood turning channel, it sure gets around some subjects, doesn't it?
Yeah, right.
And poor old Paul's sitting there wondering what the hell's going on, I think.
I was thinking it's probably time for bed for me, actually, so make a move.
All right. Good night, Paul. Good to see you in.
And you.
Good to see you again, Paul. Take care
Well,
of yourself.
catch you tomorrow.
I'll see you next time.
We
Okay,
might even talk
tomorrow.
about wood turning one day.
Yeah.
We'll drop in.
Well,
All right.
Paul goes live tomorrow with
Yeah.
with his group.
That's true. Yeah, tomorrow evening.
No worries.
Okay, see you next time.
Take care,
See you
Paul.
later.
Take care.
Bye bye.
Seeing you.
Bye.
Yep.
Bye.
Thanks for dropping by.
I am probably
Well-
going to be signing off too. It's almost midnight, so I got to hit the sack. But
I should.
I'm gonna try to get in on every Wednesday. Except next week I won't be in because next week is just going to turn into a hellacious week for me. I'm solidly booked all day, every day. So, but the week after, I'll be popping in.
Maybe you should try retirement, Jeff.
I might give that a try one day. Who knows? Might be something interesting.
Could be.
Just don't forget, Cindy Drozda has her first hands-on program. I've talked her into it over the past few months because of stuff that like we do, but that she's going to make a 3-sided twisted box. And the object is you're to have a piece of wood when you register. She's going to tell you the size of the wood that you need, and she's going to work you through, and you're going to be able to have 2 cameras. The tablet you're working on or computer, so you can look back and forth, and then the second, so if she says, how are you doing, and you don't want to have a big fancy rig, you can show it on your second camera, and then she'll give help and advice to anybody who's part of it. So it's a first online interactive class.
That's
and
cool.
It's Saturday,
That's cool.
$25, and this is the first one. And in 2 weeks, there's going to be a follow-up for those that attended to see what they have done.
Nice.
And then ask questions, I can do this, or should I have done that? But talked about it, and finally she said she's going to do it, and it's up starting this Saturday.
Okay.
So, and for her to do that, well, she's always tried to help people bend over backwards.
Right.
So now she's ready to try the interactive stuff. But her last program had over 200.
Well, she was one of the first people to do an IRD.
Yeah.
She was kind of way ahead of everybody on that one. And okay. Well, I got to take off, guys. It was wonderful seeing you all.
All right.
I probably ought to get in bed before midnight.
Yeah.
I only got a few minutes left. 6
And I'll
minutes.
see you guys
counting.
I'll see you guys in a couple weeks then.
Yep.
Thanks for coming in.
Take care.
Bye.
See you later, Jeff.
Yep.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You going too, are you, Bob?
Yep, he's gone.
You going to shut it down?
Yep. All right. See you later, Hodge, if you're still there.
Yeah, see you later, Robert.
And the other lurker, it's most probably Sid.